And Jimmy, don't say anything until I, provoke you.
Oh, right.
Piece of shit.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that. He's gonna provoke
you can't say anything no matter what we're saying about you.
It's actually a roast. We lured you into a roast. I'm just going to eviscerate you.
This actually isn't a podcast. We're here to talk about Jimmy's drinking problem.
It's an intervention.
Jimmy, we think you need to be drinking more. Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Dustin.
Corey.
And today, cuddling up with us in our little pod is a very special guest. I mean, he's a special guest to us. You guys probably aren't going to give a shit because you're not going to know who it is. But he's a friend from our childhood. And that's Jimmy. Dr. Jimmy, if you find yourself in a match with him. And so, Jim, how's life in that great potato state of yours?
Potato-y. Get a lot of vodka.
There you have it. All right. Well, thank you guys. We'll see you next episode. But yeah, so since you're the guest, Jim, let's start off and just get a what are you currently playing? What's your platform of choice? Any kind of little nuggets of information?
Oh, you went too fast. Yeah. So
the ladies tell that all the time about
him. So I just got myself a nice gaming PC about 2 months ago, right before all this lockdown shit started, and that's perfect timing. When
you become an elitist douche.
Yes, I am.
Welcome to the club.
Well, I mean, you guys just noticed it for the first time now.
Yeah.
I beat Doom last night for the first time.
Doom Eternal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was playing through the Resident Evil 3 remake. I'm probably gonna finish that this week.
Nice.
Let's see now. That Alien game that went on sale like a week ago.
Yeah, Alien Isolation, $2 it was.
Talk about a good deal on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was something special when I saw that.
Some pretty righteous choices there.
It's kind of hard to play them at night, though, because in the summertime, because we're so much further up north, it's dark at like 10 or 10:30.
Yeah.
So,
this game isn't scary at all.
So that's pretty cool. And you're about to start Animal Crossing. I mean, man, that's just crazy.
Say goodbye to Jim. 90 hours later.
Mm-hmm. Dude, you know what the fucked up part of that is? That was less than a month. That's how many hours I've had in less than a month.
That game loop has to be addictive as fuck.
It hurts.
For that to happen.
It hurts pretty bad. All right. So as always, we're drinking. And what's today's drinks? What do you guys got?
I'm doing a weird mixture of dandelion tea and Yingling lager.
That is a very weird mixture. That sounds like it's going to make
They're not in the same cup. But
okay. Well, that is still, though.
Yeah, but if you can offset one with the other, it's not too bad.
All right, weirdo. What do you got, Jim? Potatoes?
So I
just got a straw in a potato.
Fuck it out. Yeah. I'm finishing up a bottle of Willie's Huckleberry Sweet Cream Liqueur. That's something I found and moved out here. That's from a place in Ennis, Montana.
Oh, shit.
Hear that, Willie?
Yeah.
We're here for you.
Dr. Willie's? Oh, wait. Wait, I got that wrong. I mean, this is a weird... We're getting goofy already. I'll tell you, we're day drinking right now. We usually record these podcasts at night, but we're doing today in the afternoon.
Fuck social norms.
Yeah.
Well, I had to start 2 hours earlier than you guys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're in a whole different time zone.
People are definitely judging him.
Mm-hmm. I've got the leftover Patron that we drank, Corey, from forever ago. But here's... And by the way, when I say I'm drinking Patron, I'm talking a full-size glass topped Patron. I'm just trying to finish it.
That's some fancy alcoholism right there.
Yeah, but what's fucked up is these are the little ones that I combine them both. They're the little ones that we were drinking straight out of, so it's like 90% backwash.
That's a little taste of Corey in a glass.
Yeah. That's how I do it in my mornings. Anyway, I have not even said what the subject is, so half the people tuned out. But anyway, so today we're going to be talking about the best games ever made according to everyone ever on Metacritic.
Or just Metacritic.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun. We're going to be doing 95 and up. So like the cream of the crop. Cream of the crap. Is that what I just said? Cream of the crap. But first, before we actually get into the list, let's talk about a couple things here. First off, let's talk about the general sense of reviews and what the legitimacy of reviews are. Let's face it, everyone has different tastes. And I got to say, like, when you start digging through this list, there's some fucking weird choices, man. I guess it's just important to know that, like, reviews are bullshit. Like, really, no matter like where you're getting them, because there's going to be a lot of people, that are doing these reviews that have specific tastes, and it's just not going to be the same for everybody. I don't know. What do you guys feel about reviews?
I feel like it all depends on the sampling. Like, where are you getting this information from? Because certain groups can be biased, et cetera, but it's just like, I want to know where these opinions are coming from, and like, because it might give a tip as to why certain games are on there. Because I kind of peeked at the list too, and I was like, who made these decisions? Like, what was the criteria for this game?
I mean, an angel comes to me at night and gives me my reviews.
But yeah, no, I think reviews are at least interesting, but I try to take them all with a grain of salt because they're kind of like assholes. Everyone has one. Some people like to show too much.
When I was looking at this site, they do break it down by critic score and user score.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not very sure which is which, but one thing that may like skew the games on here is if one game has a bunch of fanboys, you got all the users giving it a 10 out of 10 or whatever. That's really gonna set the
that's actually kind of interesting too, because like what's like if you're looking at these lists, right? Because you usually do have that. You have the critic scores and the user scores. What's really better? Like if you had to kind of choose either one of them, like what do you put even more stake into? Do you look at the critics or do you look at the users?
I would think the user score, because these are people like a large trove or a general consensus of game players that, hey, this game was this good. Like I was just looking at this list here, and like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 made 94 with its Metacritic score, but its user score was only a 6.5. So the people who actually like that game, who played it, only thought it was worth the 6.5, but for some reason Metacritic thought it was a 94. Those don't add up.
See, that's interesting because I feel like the user score is potentially what screws things up, because you have a lot of, like Jimmy said, like a lot of fanboys and stuff like that kind of like they either bomb it or whatever it is, or they praise it more than it's actually worth. And then at least like critics are usually journalist outlets or something that, like sort of have to write a dignified review. Whereas fans, it's kind of opening up to literally everybody. It's kind of like the Wikipedia version of the reviews.
Whenever you open things up to the internet, there's going to be a lot of variation in it.
But at the same time, critics are at fault too. It's really weird, right? Because reviews are one of those things, like they don't mean shit, yet you kind of need something, right? Like you kind of like need some sort of sense. I don't know. It's a really weird, as much as I know that they're bullshit, I still look at them. But actually, you know what, on that note, let's talk about like people that fucking review bomb shit, right? Because that's like, if you say like user scores are the more things to worry about, like how do you factor that in?
Well, I think it all kind of comes out in the wash, especially if a game is super relevant, because even if people try to review bomb it, the average that comes out, if there's enough people that, vote for this, I think the average kind of is still pretty decent information, and the outliers still get kind of washed away. So I think it just depends on like how big or relevant a game is, because a game that's not popular could easily get review bombed and have negative reviews. But if it's a super popular game, even those negative review bombers, they get kind of pushed, I think, slowly to the side by the general positivity of the game.
Yeah. I don't know if like anyone ever takes the time to read review bombs, but I highly recommend it. Like that's way more entertaining than the actual reviews themselves. Just read through the zeros on a given game and it's excellent. You know what? The other thing that troubles me with user reviews, though, and this is what pisses me off about YouTube a lot, is you get a lot of these like, modern day young kids that are reviewing or talking about and sharing their opinions about old games. And it's fucked up, right? Because like, I can't tell you how many times, you'll see like, say something like a Zelda game in like the top list, because they always make it. And then you'll see people on YouTube that are like, it's not that great. I'm like, asshole, you weren't around when it was that great. And you sort of have to give the time. Like, I hate the idea that a lot of people say that like, well, if it doesn't hold up to today, can you call it a masterpiece? Like, Yes, because everything is going to advance. So it's like by that logic, no game ever is any good ever because everything's always going to be better than the last.
It's pretty nihilistic.
Right.
But that didn't do anything for video games.
Right. And that's the mindset that like people seem to have with that type of bullshit argument. It's like, no, I mean, I do understand that like to a certain degree, you want to see if things like hold up at least marginally, like at least have some kind of redeeming qualities by today's standards. Like I can kind of understand that perspective, but like to fucking be like, oh, I mean, it's not, I don't know why people are saying this game's that great. You can't even fucking rotate the camera. It's like, well, yeah, it was made 30 fucking years ago. Anyway, I just want to get that out there. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves when I hear about games. Like, it's such a lame cop out. Like, what an idiot. That's all I'm going to say. What an idiot.
That's like saying the Model T is relevant because it's one of the first model cars and every car subsequently.
Oh, no, that car sucks, Corey.
I'm saying though, it's like, that's not saying that the car was completely irrelevant because every car after it evolved and is better, but it still holds a significant place in history,
right? Because
it's the progenitor of everything we do now. Yep. So, it makes no sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. A big part of these, I think, is going to be, how this game improved upon what came before it. So for a lot of these sequels, and I think are great because you say, oh, the second one is so much better than the first one because they fixed this, and this, and became revolutionary. And you have a really great way to compare it.
That's why they call him the doctor, ladies and gentlemen. No, that's, I mean, honestly, like, I think that was a great take. It's just like, yes, you kind of have to look at it for its time. And if you're going to compare it, you compare it to the titles that came before it. Absolutely. Good on you. With that said, let's get into this list. I'm going to read them off, but then we're going to, we could talk about them. All right, and this is 95s, right? We're going to start with the 95s and work our way up. And so Metal Gear Solid 5 is the first game that I have on the list here. And just for point of reference, some of these games depend, like if they're multi-plat, sometimes different platforms have lower ratings and everything. So the list that I compiled, I kept the game at whatever the highest score that it got across all platforms and like remasters and stuff like that. So yeah, topping it off at 95 is Metal Gear Solid 5.
I think in this series, I think there's a couple other ones that were slightly better, but I feel like it was a decent representation. I noticed that the user rating is a little bit lower, but I still think it's out of the Metal Gear Solid series. It's not like Snake Eater, which I thought was a little bit better, but I thought it was a good one.
Jim, did you play this one?
No.
Okay.
We're starting off strong.
No, so I thought it was okay. I mean, I feel like after 3, kind of like what you said, Corey, after 3, the Metal Gear Solid franchise started dipping off for me. I thought 5 was okay. I fucking hated 4. Like that was so over the top nonsense.
The Sons of Liberty?
No. Sons of Liberty is 2, isn't it?
Oh.
I remember reading up on these. I think their main writer quit or got fired or something.
Hideo Kojima?
Yeah, the director. Him and Konami had a falling out.
Yeah, they all went downhill after that. So
yeah, tried to make it that garbage Metal Gear Survive game.
Oh god. But no, which actually is here at a 99. No, I'm just kidding. No, I thought this was just a very average game. Like it was nice that they had some open world elements of it, but I didn't think it was that great. I definitely wouldn't put this in like the top games of all time.
Yeah,
but Metacritic knows best.
Better than Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah. Yes. Final Fantasy 7 is not on this list. So I like to tell Corey, any game that I name here, just know it's better than Final Fantasy 7. All right. Next up, Persona 5.
All right. I know someone who's in the process of playing that game for the second time now, trying to 100% it. I've watched a significant portion of the game. I think it's a really good representation of a JRPG. Artistically, really cool looking. The storyline's very interesting. I never played this one. I played a few of the other older ones, but I think it's a pretty good representation of the series, and the fan base seems to love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was watching the trailer on this just a little bit ago, and I totally dig that anime style. I mean, I'm a fan of anime myself, and just seeing the games going through and doing that like comic book style, like I think it'll be able to hold up. I mean, we had this conversation before about graphics.
Yeah.
And like doing this anime style, I think is really gonna, give this game some playability. You don't come back here and say, oh, this game is shit. Look at the graphics.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like so many people, it's funny you brought that up, and this is completely off subject, but I feel like so many people confuse good games with graphics nowadays, graphics and story. But like, if anything, realism and graphics hurts a game more than it helps because it dates faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't played this, but I've played a little bit of it, and I didn't beat Persona 4, but I played like, I don't know, like maybe 15 hours or so, Persona 4. I think they're great. They're very fun games. They're just very, there's a lot to do. And it's like, I've just never had the time to finish one as I sit here playing Animal Crossing every day. But I've always wanted to kind of go back. I do want to play Persona 5 for sure, but it looks great. I gotta be honest, like given the fact that it's anime, I'm kind of surprised it's on the greatest games of all time list, since it's kind of like a niche. Like JRPGs by default are niche. A very anime JRPG at that. Like it's surprising. It's cool. Surprising.
Yeah, more of those anime style ones recently. Like what was that one that just came out not just came out for Switch, the Xenoblade Chronicles that went totally anime style.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot more of those on the Switch.
Seems like a decent decision because the graphics hold up and it harkens back to their original content. So it's a smart idea if it's definitely anime based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Portal 2. And I think this feels right.
Yeah. Good co-op puzzle game. I feel like it's pretty widely renowned as a great game. Interesting story to it to a certain extent. I think it's kind of exactly where it needs to be. I think it's a pretty good game.
Fun fact, I actually played this before Portal 1, and this game's awesome. This game's better than Portal 1, in my opinion. But anyway, Jim, did you play this one?
Nope.
So I guess we should say Jim's like just now emerging on the PC platform.
Yeah.
But,
enjoy those Steam sales.
I have a big backlog. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll get there. All right, that one seems pretty straightforward, but okay. Still a 95. Last of Us. Take it away.
I think it's a pretty popular game. I sat and watched a playthrough of the first one and played it myself, but storyline seems decent enough. They took a clever version of zombies and kind of made them more like, I guess came from plant. I think it's plants or some sort of fungus or something.
Plants.
But anyways, I think you got some people it's detractors. I think it's like, it's not as good as it is, but I think it's okay. I don't know if it's a 95, just being honest, but I think it's okay. I think it's not bad.
Yeah, it's it's Naughty Dog, doing what Naughty Dog does. It's Uncharted but with zombies. I thought this was a really fun story. I thought, like I said this about Uncharted, like a lot of these types of games are on rails, but like Naughty Dog finds a decent way of balancing. Like the gameplay's tolerable and it's fine, but it's really like the story and stuff that you play these games for. And I'm the type of person that I'm so over zombies. Like unless it's like an old school Resident Evil, like I appreciate that. But like it's just it feels so played out at this point. But I did find it very interesting how they they kind of captivated me into a zombie story. Not that it's like super original or anything, but it was a lot of fun. It's one of those though, like if you forget that it's a video game, it really isn't an incredibly original story. That being said, because of that, like because it's not like gameplay amazing, that's why I would probably keep it out of the greatest games of all time. I think it's fun. I think people enjoy it, but I don't know if I'd say top games of all time. Again, it's like another one of those like story and graphics getting in the way of what's actually important. And I feel like gameplay always comes first when it's video games.
Alrighty.
Jim, any thoughts?
I think you nailed it. All
right. Next up, we got both these titles. I'm lumping them together. Zelda: Link to the Past and Majora's Mask. So quite the pairing. So, but Corey, I know you're not, a Zelda player, and we're gonna fix that someday.
These games suck. Take them off the list.
I actually I know this is part of the greatest games of all time list here. I'm actually surprised these are this low. Like,
of course you are.
Like, wow. I mean, given what they've done in the gaming industry, obviously, like I'm a huge Zelda nerd. Like that's fine, but beyond that, like they've really changed the landscape of like gaming. And they really are some of the finest crafting of video games, in my opinion. So I'm kind of surprised seeing this. I know that Majora's Mask actually used to be at a 98. So I guess it just recently dropped down. So I was kind of surprised to see it at 95. And I appreciate that game because that was one of the very few Zelda games that sort of broke the formula and said, you know what, no Zelda, no Ganon. And it's, you know, kind of like it just had way different mechanics than a lot of the other ones did. I mean, same mechanics, but also like new fresh ideas. And then Link to the Past is like the game that set the entire franchise on that formula to begin with. And then, you know, and there's games that come out today that are in this list even that like, you know, have borrowed ideas from what these games have created. So anyway, that's why I'm surprised to see them low on list. That being said, they're still very high up there, and I'm not mad. I'm just pissed.
Yeah, well, it is a huge series. I mean, I was playing the original NES version of Zelda on the Nintendo Switch emulator, like probably like 6 months ago or something.
The online service, you mean?
Yeah, and they've, you know, I mean, this has like driven Nintendo, I mean, for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of what these games were made in the 80s and what 40 years later they're still making new ones.
Yeah, I mean the math a bit. I think next year will be the 35th anniversary actually.
Okay, well, a little bit off, but yeah.
No, I get
point.
it. Idiot. Yeah, but again, I know, especially like this is one of those like where they're kind of down on the list, and I wonder if some of this placates into the fact that they're older games and you have modern people that are viewing it a little bit differently. But like, if you look at these games for what they did at the time, they revolutionized gaming. And I think that's a monumental feat to accomplish, to say, like, I look at that compared to like, it's in the same ranking of something like Last of Us. I mean, Last of Us is cool, but it's nothing groundbreaking. You know, it's nothing like, it's not going to change the platform. If anything, it's just doing what Uncharted did. Anyway, that's all. I'm just saying, like, again, it's still in the list. I'm not butthurt.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Halo 2. That's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
It is. I think Halo 2 took all the great things about Halo 1 and made them better, like having two guns in your hand instead of one.
Yes.
No, I think
I forgot you couldn't do that in Halo 1 until we went back and played it.
Yep. They took what was great and made it even better. Now, granted, Halo 1 I think is holds a more special place than Halo 2, but I think the fact that it was refined in the way they did it without detracting or taking too much away, I think. Yeah, awesome game. Pretty decent storyline too.
Yeah, that was 360, correct?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, that
there's Xbox on here, I think.
2004.
Was it the original Xbox?
I think it was. I think this was one of those door releases, like you know, right when 360 was coming out.
Crossovers. Yeah. Either way, yeah.
Like,
I mean, what a game! Like that was. I actually completely agree with you, Corey. I think like Halo 1 sort of deserves the bigger bow, but Halo 2 is just it really did just sort of perfect that element. Is that what actually this is a good question. What's your guys' favorite Halo?
I'm
gonna go with 3.
Damn it, I was about to say that.
You can't take it. You have to choose a different one.
Okay.
For nostalgia's sake, I would say I can always, if someone says, hey, you want to play Halo 1, I'll always be willing to jump on and play that for a second nostalgia. But game mechanics, I would have to say probably 3. But there is a specific mission, I think, in the second one where I think you're in the city and you're chasing that scarab, which is an amazing experience.
Yeah, that second level, that was great.
That was one of the best missions ever, because you're on Earth and you're, in this big war fighting through a city in Earth. And I always thought to myself, man, they should have just expanded upon that, the whole war on Earth concept. So, damn it. I'm torn. I'd have to say probably 1, just for nostalgia.
Cool.
That's the only one I could say I would play every single time someone was said.
I also want to give a shout out to Halo 4. I feel like not too many people I feel like there was that was kind of split, but I thought that was a pretty great game. 5, I can understand why people are kind of meh over it, but I thought 4 was really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that I certainly think Halo 2. I think any Halo really deserves to be in the greatest games of all time list. Really.
One more thing I want to bring up on this one is this is the game I had in mind when I was mentioning earlier. You judge a game of its greatness due to what it was based on.
Yeah.
And Halo 2 fixed every problem that I had with Halo 1. You know, not being able to hold two guns, being able to pick up the energy sword. I mean, my God, how many times in Halo 1 I'm like, oh, energy sword. Let me grab it. Let me grab it. And then it just like blows up. I'm like, no.
Like the little pulse explosion.
That was so frustrating.
All right. This next one, I don't think we're going to spend much time on. No. Gran Turismo 3. So I have played, I can't remember which Gran Turismo game I played, to be honest. I think it was actually 2. It's either 2 or 3 that I played. They are fun games. I'm not even a racing game fan, but I will say that they are fun games, and maybe there's a reason on this list, but I can't really speak too much about this one.
Gran Turismo games are always seem pretty decent. I'm not much of a racing game person, but I know they always strive for excellent graphics and the handling of the cars. They always try to make it as realistic feeling as possible. People love these games, and I'm not going to judge them for it. I'm just not a racing guy, but I've seen the games play, and they do look beautiful, especially every new one that comes out. But I guess, yeah.
Yeah, same thing here. Like for a racing game, I don't understand how you could put that on the top list of all time. I'm just going to go out and say that now.
Yeah.
Because like some of these games, like all Zeldas, the Halos, those are original. I mean, there is a lot of effort that went into the storyline and stuff. In a racing game, it's just, I'm going to go around and be faster than that car.
Yeah, I think
a lot of race people are like,
hey, you know what?
A lot of people
wait.
hate me.
Can we say it? Jimmy, you're a racist. No, I you know what? Like, I feel like sports games in general are rated on a different scale. And that's why, like, I don't like talking too much about them because, it really is kind of like, well, this is just a thing. And they're just sort of capitalizing on a thing. But anyway, so we'll move on then. So next up we got the original Red Dead Redemption. And I actually played the original back in the day, and I absolutely loved it. And it was one of those, like, this was why I anticipated Red Dead 2 so much, because I remembered it being so good. And then I actually went back shortly after Red Dead 2 came out, and I played it, and I was like, oh, it wasn't as good as I remember. It's still good, though.
I think the controls for the time, I think it's like 2010 it got released.
Yeah.
Were good, and I think the storyline was great. I think the main problem heading into Red Dead Redemption 2 was they kept the same dated controls, or at least it felt like they did.
Yeah.
It didn't advance, but I think Red Dead Redemption was a good one. Definitely a good story, at least.
Yeah. It's hard for me to put it in greatest game of all time territory, but it was cool when it came out, but it's definitely tanky.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, anything to add before we move on?
No.
Okay. Next one was kind of surprising to me. Little Big Planet.
Yeah.
This, when this game came out, it was actually like a lot of fun. Like I really enjoyed this game. I didn't think it was that super popular. I mean, I know it was like enough to have a little Sackboy was kind of iconic after that, but like I feel like not a lot of I especially by today's standards, I don't hear people go, oh, when you think back about Little Big Planet, you know.
Yeah, I played it before. It's a fun game, but unless I'm really missing something, or it's just a hyper cultural phenomenal game, it didn't revolutionize much of anything. It was a co-op game where you solve puzzles together. It
was kind of a maker game.
Yeah, and it just there was nothing about it that screamed I've made something amazing and new. So I'm really surprised it's on this list, at least this high.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at the user score, that's way below everything else that's on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Or anything around it.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange.
It's a good point.
You know, it's actually kind of funny. I actually have a Sackboy, like little soft, squishy figure thing. I got it for free whenever PlayStation got hacked or something. They sent it to me. And then I have it hanging on my my display monitor at work, and everybody that comes by my desk, right? Because I have like a bunch of video game paraphernalia, stuff. And everybody like appreciates it, but like the question I get all the time is, who the hell is that? All right, but yeah, that one was a surprise. It was a good game, but I wouldn't put it on this list. So next we got, and these are both lumped together, Grand Theft Auto Vice City and San Andreas. Personally, I think I'm okay with that choice, actually.
Yeah, I'll second that. I think, arguably, I think San Andreas was the more popular of the two, if I remember correctly.
I feel like they were both kind of like, like you could pick one or the other. Like,
they're only 2 years apart. So graphically, probably not the biggest change up. Mechanically, probably not change up. So really, for whatever your preference of storyline is, but both kind of kept that same formula, which was really good. That sandbox, free roam, mess around and do terrible things to people kind of concept, but it was always fun. And you can't really argue with the numbers, especially these newer Grand Theft Autos, like how popular that franchise is. So yeah, I think they're two pretty good games.
Yeah. One thing that I remember out of this was San Andreas had the 2-player mode.
Yes.
A lot of fun. Yes.
That was the thing I was going to talk about, is like, I absolutely loved it. This was like my thing. I would start up the game. I would like go over to someone's house I would like never play this game with before. And I'd jump in and I'll be like, all right, 2-player, let's go. And then I'd get in a car. They'd hop in the passenger seat. And there's this area in San Andreas I knew of specifically where like you could kind of crash through, like you'd weave up this hill and then you could crash through this fence and it took you to this top of this cliff. And without fail, every time I would drive up here, I would go right off the edge of the cliff, and right before I get to the edge, I would dive out of the car so player 2 would get stuck in there. I just loved it. I don't know why. It just always had me cracking up. And the soundtrack to that game was so much fun.
Yeah, they've always had really good soundtracks to these games. They really are good for the kind of climate or city that they're in.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate 2. I don't have much to say about this because I have not played Baldur's Gate games.
Baldur's Gate, made in 2000, which now is like several decades old.
Mm-hmm.
All of the Baldur's Gate series is always good RPGs. They're pretty iconic, and especially amongst players of that genre who love that kind of go and loot, inventory management sort of pieces sometimes. And I think these are kind of more of the nostalgia pieces that people always go back to say, hey, these are excellent examples of a genre I like. So I think I'm okay with these being here.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I've never played. I know the people that made Divinity Original Sin 2 just got greenlit to make Baldur's Gate 3. So that's something. But I don't have much I can contribute to that one. How about you, Jim? Anything?
No, I haven't played them either.
Okay. So now we're moving on to, that was the end of 95. So now we're moving on to 96. So I'm going to kick this one off with Metal Gear Solid 2. And I think that is Sons of Liberty.
Yeah.
I loved this game. I remember I used to play this sort of like in tandem, like at around the same time as I was playing San Andreas, actually. But oh my gosh, like coming off of the original Metal Gear Solid game, going to this game where you had that like first person shooter, you could like point the gun at someone, they'd put their hands up, and then it was up to you if you shot them in the face or not afterwards, and then you could like hide them and lock. I loved this game so much. And there were times, especially when you get to Raiden, there were times where it got a little bit Japanesey, but outside of that, like I thought this is probably, I don't know, it's a toss up between this and the original Metal Gear Solid, which was my favorite, but I love this game.
I think it's kind of in that same crux of Halo 2 or Halo. Metal Gear Solid 2 took a bunch of the stuff original Metal Gear Solid did well, but made it even better. Continued that storyline, and mechanically, I think it was a little bit better. So it's a toss up between 2 and 1, but I agree. Metal Gear Solid 2 was a really good game.
Press the action button.
Press the action button. Yeah, I think me and Jim, every time we talk, like we somehow work that into the conversation. I think Metal Gear Solid 1 for story still takes the cake, but then Metal Gear Solid 2 is just, I just every time I say that game's name, I kind of want to go back and play it. Next one is the first Gran Turismo. We won't spend much time on that. Pretty much everything we said about 2 is going to hold up for that one. But Gran Turismo is a 96. After that, we have Skyrim.
Big open sandbox, fantasy driven. It's obviously popular. You can't argue with how many damn ports the thing has had.
That's Bethesda. That's just their greed.
Yeah, but people keep buying the damn things. So it says something about how loved this whole concept of this fantasy driven. And the storyline was okay, from what I've seen so far. It seems pretty good. Killing the dragons and paying their spirits and stuff like that. I don't know. I always loved a good sandbox, and I think it's pretty universally panned as a good example of it. So I'm okay with it being up here in this list. Like maybe a little bit lower. I don't know, but people are gonna definitely argue for its spot here. So I can see it.
I definitely, as someone that's not even a huge Skyrim person, I can tell you, I definitely feel like this belongs in the list. I actually played this when it came out on the Switch. That's when I played this. Now, I remember a lot of people playing this when I was in high school, and I was just into different things at the time and everything. And I remember looking at it thinking, this looks kind of like weird. But having played this late in like 2017 or whatever, I can tell you, like, that's my problem. I played the game too late. But even in 2017, I remember when I was playing that game, I thought to myself, wow, this game was ahead of its time. And that's like, so if I played that back in my high school days when everyone else was playing it, I probably, this could have been way up there in greatest games of all time. I think it really is a phenomenal game. I just think it's sort of, there's no way you're going to experience it today the way that you could have back then. And that's sort of what my problem is. And I know, Jim, that I was just talking to you about this the other day, but you're thinking about giving this one a go.
Oh, yeah. Once again, that came out when we were in high school. I remember a couple of kids that were really into gaming and had awesome gaming PCs were totally into this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this one with all of the great PC mods.
Well, that's the thing that like the PC mods is what like. Yeah, if you're going to get this game and you're choosing between console, like Switch or console or something like that, I would say like if you have a PC, I mean, I don't even think you have to have a super intense PC anymore at this point, but like get this on PC if nothing else for the mods alone.
Yeah, I remember seeing once my friend had this Thomas the Tank Engine mod or something like that.
Thomas the Train, yeah.
Some of the dragons.
Yeah, they replaced the dragon with Thomas the Train. It was so fucking funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's I think it belongs on this list. But it definitely takes a long commitment. It's cool that you can do whatever you want, but it is a bit dated at this point, but it is also still, I think it deserves it. All right, so I'm going to group these two games. They're Zelda games. We've got Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Being the Zelda nerd that I am, I'll start. So I think that Wind Waker definitely deserves to be in the greatest games of all time category. And I don't think it's underappreciated or underrated. I think that a lot of people hold this game to a high standard. But I still feel like, like we spend a lot of time talking about like Ocarina, Majora's Mask, all that kind of stuff. And Wind Waker, like sometimes does feel like it's falling into the shadows a little bit. But Wind Waker was an incredible Zelda game. And it sort of reopened the sandbox. It was sort of like one of the bigger open world kind of experiences in that universe, and really, really good. One of the best Zelda stories out there. So I think that's really cool. The art style holds up tremendously well because it was toon based. However, I think Twilight Princess, I'm actually not that super into Twilight Princess. And that might sound like blasphemy to a lot of Zelda fans out there, but like, you know what? Twilight Princess was really just like them trying to recreate Ocarina of Time again. It just really like it was fine, but it was starting to fall into the stale category. I think Skyward Sword is where I really stopped giving a shit, but Twilight Princess, I was just sort of kind of over it. Anyway, that's what I have to say.
I obviously have a lot of opinions on this. I don't know. I've never played it. I've never played any Zelda game. Well,
yep.
I think I barely played one of them.
Really? Which one?
Ocarina of Time, I think.
You played a little bit of Ocarina of Time?
Probably like 10 minutes.
How are you not coming your pants?
And to be honest, I probably played it at your house like a long time ago. I grabbed the controller. I was like, hey, let me try this out. And I was like, And I put it down. Resounding meh. People are now like, how is this possible?
Their heads just explode.
Yeah, they see from tracers or whatever it is. Yeah. Scanner darkly.
Jim, you're a Zelda fan. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I actually never got a GameCube, so I did not get to play.
Both of these. Well, wow. I guess I was going to say, well, it's on the Wii U. So now you have no excuse.
Totally.
Yeah, no, yeah. So that was GameCube and Wii U, but then Twilight Princess was a dual release. It was on the Wii as well. It was cross-gen. You never played it?
No, my sister got a Wii when I was in college. I played some Paper Mario and stuff like that, but
yeah, this was definitely. I think Skyward Sword was my least favorite, but this was like my second least favorite. I there's a lot of people that really love it, and that's cool. I get it. It's just I just think at that point, like all the other games felt better to me. That this was never something on my thing, but Wind Waker, Jim, since you are a Zelda fan, if you can find a way to play Wind Waker, I highly recommend it. It's exceptionally good. It's very easy. That's the downside to it. It's like too easy. I mean, not that Zelda's been like difficult in general, but this one's definitely easy. But other than that, it's so good.
Yeah, one of my roommates in college had a GameCube and Wind Waker. I got to play that for, a couple hours or something. That was a lot of fun, but
oh, okay. So you got a taste of it.
Yeah.
Nice.
But not much to talk about.
Yeah. Well, at least I agree that it should be on this list. All right, moving on. We've got Mass Effect 2. And let's be honest, the best Mass Effect game. That game was awesome. I think it deserves to be on this list. Good for it.
Yeah, I'll second that pretty quickly. The game felt like it was constantly giving more and more content. It felt like a game that sometimes I was like, oh God, how long is this game? And but definitely better than the second one, and probably I think honestly the best of the series.
Better than this first one, you mean?
Yeah, better than the first one. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's
and
you're drunk.
The best of the series, I think, was the second one.
Yeah, this game when I first played it felt massive. Like, I mean, it just felt like there was no way I was ever going to do everything in it. I'm sure if you go back by today's standards, it might be a little bit smaller, but I remember at the time with all the different planets and everything you could visit, it just felt so massive. But it was a great game, great story. Yeah, I think it's deserving. Jim, did you play this one? Did you get a chance for this?
No, I didn't. I was taking a look at the trailer, like an hour ago or something, trying to get something to say on these ones I haven't played before.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, because I know that like you were off new consoles for a while there, but like I also know that we were still like in like high school and stuff around this. So I'm not sure if you ever had a chance to play it at like a friend's house or something, but
no, I haven't.
Yeah, it's another one it's pretty good. I don't know if it's on PC nowadays, but if you're gonna play any Mass Effect, it should definitely be the second one. Moving on up, we've got Tekken 3, or how'd that one actress say at the Game Awards? Tekken 3. This is interesting. I have kind of mixed feelings about this one because, like, I mean, Tekken games were great growing up. I remember what was it like? I think like Tekken 2, Corey, that like me and you used to play the PlayStation Underground demo of all the time. And it was like limited to like 4 characters or something like that. But like, I used to love those old Tekken games, but like, I'm also not a humongous fighting game fan. So it's like sort of like hard for me to put in greatest games of all time list. But I don't know, maybe a Tekken game deserves it. Maybe Tekken 3. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't have much to say on this one. Tekken's very popular. Apparently the third one's great. There you go. I don't know.
I think that was still on the original PlayStation, wasn't it? Probably says.
Yeah.
Okay.
PlayStation, I think.
All right, moving on up. We got Batman Arkham City. I actually forget what order these games came out. Like, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City.
Yeah, it's Arkham Asylum, then Arkham City, and then I think there's a third one.
Isn't there an Arkham City 2 or something? I don't know. I forget.
Final one was.
These games are pretty cool. I don't think I'd ever put them on greatest games of all time, but they're definitely neat.
It didn't really reinvent the wheel or anything like that with them, but the stealth-based content definitely really helped you immerse yourself in that experience of being Batman.
Yeah.
I think the stories were actually some of the best parts of the game. So I thought it was very dark, which is I think what Batman needs to be for the series. So I thought they were really good. Are they 95, 96 material? I don't know about that. I played all of them, but I think they're good.
A little bit niche too, like you kind of have to be in that DC sort of comic book mindset to probably really get into them. Anything, Jim, on your end for that one?
The one thing, I didn't play this, but the one thing I think that's really weird on here is this is the only Batman game on here. I mean, a lot of these, you see like repeated 10 times or something. Yeah. And just out of nowhere, there's Batman Arkham City.
Yeah, I think one of them are like way down the list, but like still in the 90s. I think Arkham Asylum is, but not 95 and up.
Yeah, it makes me think that this is, kind of like a out of left field, rating or something.
I mean, it is a good game. Like, even if you're not a huge comic or Batman fan, like it still is a very good game. It was very like mature themed, I think, back then. It's like sort of almost in that like, you know, like the Killing Joke like style comics, like just very dark.
It was pretty dark. The series was pretty dark.
Yeah. So next we got, this is one of my favorite games growing up, but Resident Evil 4. This was, I'm torn between this and RE2 of what was my favorite game. I still think Resident Evil 2, you know, the original was probably my favorite Resident Evil game. But Resident Evil 4 was so cool. I remember this was like the first game that was like, it's not really about zombies anymore. It's about crazy ass motherfuckers that are like in a cult. And it was just such a nice new take. And it had that this was the first one that like put you behind over the shoulder. And it made the game's atmosphere just so much more intense. I love this game and I absolutely think it deserves to be on the list.
I think it's a great game. Like you said, you kind of hit everything on the head. So for the sake of time, I won't like reiterate it. But I do like the over the shoulder camera, and they definitely kept that and utilized it pretty effectively. And the games after that, and it almost changed the ambience completely of the game. So I think, definitely this is a good choice for being at 96.
Jim, did you play this one?
Nope.
It's actually kind of funny at this point. Well, again, like I know this was like, what was this, PlayStation 2? I can't remember. Anyway, but I know, again, like it was back at like a high school experience. So I know me and you were hanging out a lot. So, okay. So moving on, my favorite Uncharted game, Uncharted 2. As I say that, but that being said, I don't believe this belongs in the greatest games of all time list. I don't believe any Uncharted does. In my opinion, like I there's a special place in my heart for the Uncharted series, but I think they're better movies than they are video games. And for that reason, I wouldn't put it in the greatest games of all list, but they are very entertaining pieces of media. And I think 2 was definitely the best one.
I don't have much experience with the Uncharted series. And I've watched a couple of them played out. And I can definitely understand what you mean by the whole on rails thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can kind of agree with that whole sentiment that it's not quite a game; it's more of just a interactive movie. And
it's a bit more than that. I think the gameplay is okay. Like that's why, like of all on rails games, I think Uncharted sort of stand a little bit above the rest. But you know, I still it's nothing to like. When I think back on Uncharted games, I think about the stories. I don't think so much about the gameplay.
Which is another thing because a lot of these games, I noticed the first time I noticed this was in Final Fantasy X came out.
Yeah.
Is that games started becoming like interactive movies, more or less, with a bunch of cutscenes and stuff, which I really found enjoyable. But I mean, you know, if you're playing this from a gamer aspect, not so much anymore. It starts to cut into, you know, whatever. But it's really, it made them fun to watch, though, too. Mm-hmm. So, which is another thing that you didn't get before this a lot. So it's just a new brand of something to hit on, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like this really was like the era where like watching video games became almost like a thing. Like that's cool. All right, well, this next game, Jim, I know you've played this. GoldenEye.
Uh-huh.
Woohoo! We got one.
I think in regards to the first person shooter genre, that's kind of a staple. And I know me and Dustin would play this game like all night and then the rest of the day and just non-stop. It's definitely aged for sure. You probably go back and play, whoa, these mechanics were very clunky. But for what it was, excellent first person shooter.
Yeah. I remember I had a lot of hard time doing this at first because I remember this was the first, I think this was the first game where they tried to put the camera controls in. Like, you know, on like modern Halo and stuff, you move with the left stick, camera with the right stick.
Yeah.
And this one on 64, where they only had one stick, but they introduced the C buttons the first time. And so you used C up and down for look up and down. Oof. And that really fucked with me. I mean, how many times you go running through a level, like looking down, like at my knees as I'm running, like, oh. And this is before you had that, like moving the camera around.
Yeah, the twin stick.
The muscle memory to like move the camera with your right thumb.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, what was big on this game.
This is one of those games that 100% I think it must be on this list. And I'm actually, again, like, I think even 96 might be low for this one. This was, and it's so weird because, right, like video game movies like have no right to be this good, but not that it ever really felt like a video game movie. Oh my gosh, this game, I probably as a kid, like Corey said, I mean, me and him when we were younger, we would play this game from like noon to like 6 a.m. And then we'd go to sleep, we'd wake up, and then we'd play it immediately afterwards until 6 a.m. again. Like, this game was so much fun. I especially loved in the multiplayer how you would, like, as you like beat certain elements in the single player campaign, you'd unlock things like paintball mode, you know, like all these stupid little cheat things that would it was so much fun. And I don't know a single person, you know, like any single person that plays games that doesn't have a healthy respect for this game. And it's funny too, because like every time Jimmy comes home, you know, we hook up our N64 and we just play old games together. And it's funny because I think we recently tried to play 007 and it was so fucking hard. Like, cause yeah, like the twin stick nature and everything. It was like, I was like, how the hell were we that good at this game back then? Like, it controls like dog shit today.
The only thing I remember from this game that still haunts me in my dreams is you finding out where the golden gun is in a multiplayer level. And then you just beat me like 20-1 at the end of the game.
I was such a cheap bastard. I was a golden gun user, screen looker. I was such a scumbag. Oh man, this game just brings back so many memories. The best of which is like when you'd like know someone was in a bathroom stall and they'd think they were safe and you just shoot right through it and like
shoot me in the foot and I die.
Yeah. Like my favorite, like this game, playing this game with golden gun and paintball mode, that's my bliss. Yeah. And again, 100% deserves to be on this list. I don't know. I'd probably even move it up on the list. This game is just phenomenal. It does not hold up today at all. But that being said, it doesn't matter. When it was released, it was like one of the greatest things ever. Next up, BioShock. Everyone praises this game, and I thought it was okay.
Yeah, storyline was interesting. Mechanics it's a first-person shooter with you had your powers on top of it. Groundbreaking. I don't know about that, but I don't know if it was a good game for context of a first-person shooter.
I think it was really the story that like made people cream their pants over this one because it was like the twisty thing, you know.
Yeah, the plot twist in the game was pretty good.
Yeah.
But 96, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd maybe let it slide into 90. I don't know if I'd put it this high though. But Jim, did you play this one? Because if you didn't, so on Steam you can get this game really cheap right now.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So if you're gonna play any BioShock, let it be the first one. I have a feeling like you'd actually probably like it. It's not a bad game.
It's a good game.
Yeah.
If you get it for cheap, I would definitely suggest it.
Moving on, I don't have much to say about these two, but Half-Life and Half-Life 2. I was never a Half-Life fan, so I'll let you guys talk about this one if you have anything to say, because I don't have much to say on it.
These games have I wouldn't even say a cult following anymore. These games are pretty prestigious when it comes to the first-person shooter genre. Mm-hmm. Storyline's great, interesting mix of puzzle and other mechanics. The characters are very believable, in you know the context of the reality. You know, I think 98 was Half-Life and 2004 was Half-Life 2, but each one of them kind of pushed the boundaries of the engineering and things that they could do in the game. So there's a reason why these games are universally kind of panned as excellent games. And there's always why you constantly hearing people beg for Valve to create Half-Life 3. They're coming out with 2.5, that VR game.
Oh, that's already out, and that's also in like the 90s. Yeah,
and you can just see how much people love this series. And if I would be surprised if it comes out the third one, if it makes it up to the top of this list too. Partially because of nostalgia, but the first two were excellent games.
Yeah, I got to play the first one for a while. The first one came out 98, I think.
Yep.
I wasn't allowed to play mature games growing up. So 98, I was 9 at that point. But I was able to play it on my uncle's computer.
God, your parents were dicks.
Yeah, but I got to play through about half of the first one way back in late 90s or whatever, and that was really a lot of fun. And I think the first-person shooters really came out on PC first. And that's really what launched them. And so I think Half-Life and that series had a lot to do with what has come in the first-person shooters and the newer gen consoles.
Nice.
So, yeah, deserves to be up on here because it's, one of the forerunners, I think.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything negative. I mean, personally, I was not into them back then, but like I'm also not going to say anything negative. I think it's great, and it seems like everyone universally loves it, so it seems like it deserves it to me. It was just not my thing at the time. I think I was just into other shit at the time, and I think we were playing like PlanetSide and shit back then, so I was just like involved in other shit. That's it for 96s. Moving into 97, this list is even shorter. I'm just going to briefly mention this one because it's a sport game, but I'll mention it because it did make it into the 97s. Like, this is like the top 3 tier at this point. NFL 2K1, good for you. Moving on. The original Halo, and we already talked about this, when we mentioned Halo 2, but absolutely. I mean, this game, it put first-person shooters sort of on the map. It sort of perfected that genre, and the multiplayer, especially like the split-screen multiplayer, it really sort of birthed that into existence, really. So Halo 1, cheers. I mean, 97, I guess that's fair. I mean, shit, you could probably even lift that higher in my book.
Yeah, for the sake of time, I'm going to agree with your sentiments. I think 97 actually is probably kind of low for all the things this game did for the shooting genre and the co-op play genre, the split screen genre for gaming in general. I think it was an amazing game. Still is, I think.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first game of the series that has really launched Xbox. I mean, without Halo, what would have happened to Xbox? I mean, that was really their crowning jewel. And how many Halo 1 through 5 came from this? Then Halo Wars and Halo Reach.
Yeah.
This is really
it's a mascot.
All of Xbox's successes came from Halo Combat Evolved.
I remember when I was a kid, I used to joke and I used to call it, instead of the Xbox, I used to say, the Microsoft Halo. Actually, since all 3 of us are on the chat here, this reminds me of the time when we were kids.
That New Year's Day.
New Year's Day. Me, Jimmy, and Corey, the 3 of us. We were sitting in my living room. How old were we? Were we like in our 12, 13, something around that?
Probably around there, yeah.
Came out in 2001, so that means I was like 12.
Yeah. Okay. So we were so Jimmy, I think, and you're like what, a year or two or under us, or like anywhere between 12 and 14.
This is before you guys are driving though, so it had to be 15.
So we were young kids, and we had a case. I don't remember how we got this, but a case of Mike's Hard Lemonade. And it was New Year's Eve, and we were playing on the original beast of an Xbox, and we were playing Halo. I think we were actually like playing like Halo 2, like we were kind of going through all of them. And it was just, I don't know why, I'll just always have this memory of just pounding Mike's Hard Lemonades, which is just getting ridiculous.
Kind of gross when you think about it.
Then because my parents were gone. Because back in the day, parents used to not give a shit where their kids were. And we heard my garage door open because my parents were coming home. And we're like, oh, fuck. So we grabbed the case of all these empty cans of Mike's Hard Lemonade, and we sprinted down because so Corey was my cousin. He lived a little bit away, but he was down at a sleepover at my house. And Jimmy, you were my neighbor. So
yeah, a 30-second step.
Yeah. So we took the case of beer and we went outside my back porch and we ran down to your dad's house. And at the bottom of the hill, there was like this area that was just like a drop off in woods. And we just dumped it. We just threw the case of empty beers and stuff. There may have even been like a fresh one in there. I don't even know. And then I remember afterwards we were running up the hill and we decided, hey, let's race up to the top of the hill. And I remember Corey stopped and threw up half the way up.
Yep.
And then we were laughing at you. And then Jimmy throws up. And then I'm laughing at him. And then I threw up. It was like, I don't know why this memory will stick with me forever. But it was just, it was such an iconic moment. And it was all built around Halo. Whenever I hear the word, hear about Halo, I think about that moment.
I think about puking.
Yeah. Fun times. All right. So yes, with that being said, absolutely greatest game of all time. Next one, Mario Odyssey. And I got to say, I'm actually so glad to see this pretty high up because I think, Jim, with you, like me and you are big Switch fans and big Mario and Zelda people. Yeah. And after I played this game for the first couple of hours, And I kind of took a break, you know, like I should to get put in sleep mode, and I kind of did something else. And I was actually kind of disappointed because I felt very underwhelmed. But then by the end of this game, I realized that this was probably the best Mario game that I've ever played. And I'm so glad to see it get the recognition that it did, because I absolutely love this game. I think it's crazy, and this is why I love Nintendo so much, is that they can take a game as a franchise as old as Mario and yet perfect it to modern standards. And it kind of blows me away how they can keep these franchises going as strong as they do. Anyway, that's my Mario Odyssey take.
I don't have much information on the game. I've looked at it. It looks great. Not much experience playing it, but I've heard really good things.
Yeah. Corey, we're gonna, like, one of these days we're gonna convert you, because you don't play any of the popular Switch games.
Nope.
I remember when you first got the Switch, you're like, yeah, we picked up Mario Kart, and we picked up what was that, Timberlake,
Thimbleweed Park,
and I was like, that son of a bitch.
Yeah, I think I've all these amazing games. I'm like, hey, look at this indie game.
Anyway, yeah, no. One thing I really loved about this game was the throwbacks to the original, because you could take over people with your hat in this. And the one thing that blew my mind, and I just like screwed around for way too many hours, is one of you take over the Koopa Troopa and it gives you fireballs. And this was the first time you had the fireballs since the SNES one, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while. No, you know what? I think like the new Super Mario, but like a 3D Mario.
3D Mario. You never had the fireballs, and this coming back to it. I'm like, oh. That was just one of the things that we brought back. And also, every once in a while, you have like the 2D puzzle where you go into a tube and then you go into back 8-bit Mario again.
I love several minutes. And then what they did with that in the New Donk City sort of finale. Oh my God. Like, what a shining moment in gaming history, and what an homage to several titles in the past. And, and especially, like, I won't spoil it for any of those people that haven't played it yet, but like the ending of this game was just all that I could have asked for. The only critique I have for this game is I fucking hate the rabbits, or not the rabbits. I guess they're not rabbits. The bridal bunnies. They're kind of lame. The only one that I thought was really cool was the dog one, the lady that had the golden chain chomp. Other than that, I thought these battles were stupid. I thought the characters themselves were stupid. But other than that, some very, very cool and unique bosses too, I thought. I'm very surprised this game didn't get any DLC. At least major DLC. Wow. What a Mario game. All right. Grand Theft Auto 3 is next. And I do not remember this game at all. I know I played it, but I think San Andreas and Miami Vice overtook it.
Yeah, I think it kind of nestled in between those ones. So it's kind of, I don't know, homogeneously like mixed in with all those. So I don't know much about the game other than it's Grand Theft Auto 3. I probably played it, but I'm
surprised this one was higher than San Andreas and Miami Vice. I thought those ones were kind of, in my opinion, I thought they were the best ones of the series, but whatever. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot. They're grouped together. Grand Theft Auto 3 and Grand Theft Auto 5 is also on this list. Now, I know everyone gets their rocks off the Grand Theft Auto 5. It was good. I don't know. Maybe I'm just over Grand Theft Auto at that point, but I didn't think it was as amazing as everyone. I was like playing Goat Simulator more than I was playing Grand Theft Auto 5. But it's good. It's good. I'm not going to say anything other than that.
Yeah, kind of same thing. Grand Theft Auto 5, I think the numbers speak for itself. The amount of money this game generated is ridiculous.
Oh, it's still making money today.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is still getting updates online.
It's like printing money, literally. Storyline was okay. Probably one of the funniest villains, or I guess antagonists that you get to play of in the game is in Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah. I guess we can. I mean, it's Grand Theft Auto. I mean, of course, it's going to be on the list anyway. I don't know if I'd put, again, either of those in top 3 of all time. I don't know. But I do know that a lot of people absolutely love it. So, sure.
Yeah.
We have Metroid Prime. This is a game that I have not played, and I cannot wait to play this game because everyone loves this game. This was, I didn't have a GameCube long enough to play this game, but There is the rumor about the HD remasters coming out. I hope to God it comes out soon. I have watched videos on this game and it looks incredible. It's very Metroid has always been that like the most Western Nintendo franchise where it's very like it's a Western company that develops it's it's like very it's darker, it's more narrative and everything like that. And these Metroid games, all three of them, they look incredible. The story looks super sweet. They're very much like Alien games. So I actually can't wait to play this game. But until then, I have nothing to say about it. But so I don't know how it fares on this list, but I do want to play it. Anybody have experience with this?
No, I'm in the same boat. I've been holding out for like a reskinning or like not a remake, but a reskinning.
Yeah,
because it looks great, but I'm holding off.
Yeah, Jim, did you get to play this?
No, I haven't gotten to.
Damn, I'd love to. Well, anyway, so none of us have an experience, but yes, I don't have much to say, but I do want to say props. I can't wait to play it. All right, so next we have Perfect Dark. So this game was basically Square's answer to no longer having the rights to James Bond. So they basically tried to recreate the success or build on the success and extend on it and perfect it. What they did in GoldenEye. And I think they did a pretty damn good fucking job because I love this game, but I never quite got into it the way that I did GoldenEye, but it was good.
Yeah.
You same boat. Yeah.
Where? I thought this was Rare.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's Rare. Did I say Square?
Rare was in its heyday of making some pretty decent games.
Oh, I heard Square.
Oh, shit. If I said Square, I meant Rare.
Yeah.
I just drank a whole glass of shitty tequila.
But same boat. I've heard really good things. I played a decent bit of it, but it never just felt the same as GoldenEye. And I think because of that, I never really gave the game its fair shake, I think. So, I don't know.
Yeah, this one came out, I think, about the same time as Jet Force Gemini, and I was all over that at the time.
Yeah,
I wish you did not just name that game right now.
Oh,
it's all right. It's all right.
Fuck, we got to cut this out. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It's fine.
Okay.
You're just a dickhead. It's fine.
Yeah, well, but yeah, and so I was playing that all this time on N64, and yeah, 2000, I was relying on my mom to buy me games, and so I could not get more than one within, a 6-month period or something. So I missed this one.
Yeah, I recently, well, not recently, but I played this again on the what was it, that rare replay?
Yeah, that's how I played this.
Yeah, and when I played it, I was like, wow, this actually was a really good game. I think they had Perfect Dark 2 on there as well, and it was super good. It's just, you know what? It's just like they were up against the colossal of GoldenEye, so it's like, it's almost like not fair probably how we reviewed it back then, but and like you said, like if you missed it back then. I played it back then, but I was just like, GoldenEye. But it is good. All right, so now we've got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. And was this the one that had the fireball fights in the multiplayer mode?
It might have been.
Because that was like my fucking jam.
Yes.
Like I was Bam Margera and I was doing the firefights like all day.
Well, I loved playing the game with the graffiti mode. I remember a graffiti mode.
Yeah.
Graffiti was fun, yeah.
Yeah. It's so weird because this is like the type of game that like has no right to be this good. Like I would probably never be into this genre, but it was just so good. Not my favorite one, but I remember 3 being very good, the endless grinding. But then I just remember the fireball fights. I think this is where that one came in and I loved it.
Yeah. The endless grinding came in on 2 actually.
Yeah.
And
well, I just meant like Tony Hawk games in general.
Yeah.
All right. We have the big one. We've got Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
I've seen bigger.
So I've never talked about this game ever, but I think this game deserves to be higher than 97. It's one of those things where Breath of the Wild is one of those games that like it brought back my childhood. And I didn't think that was something that was possible to experience. I didn't think I would ever experience games the way that I did back then. And that proved me wrong. And if it wasn't for nostalgia, I'd probably say it's my favorite game ever. But I would have to say that this might be one of the best games that has ever been created on like an actual like sort of interactivity gameplay level and everything. I spent over 150 hours on this game because I didn't want it to end. If you totaled up all my time on that, like of that 150 hours, like maybe you could find 10 minutes where I was just kind of not bored, but And that's out of 150 hours. Like I just loved every moment of this game. It was the perfect launch to, the Switch, and it's probably the reason that thing blew up. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it was one of the closest things I've found to gaming perfection. I absolutely love this game, and I could go on and on and on, but I won't because I know Corey has a lot to say about this. So,
Corey, I don't see the relevancy of this on this list, so I'll just let you move on to Jim.
Breath of the Wild was really the thing that launched the Switch, and good thing too. I mean, that was a great title. After the first, hour or 20 hours, depending on how you play, like me, it becomes an entirely open world game. It's just great. I mean, I fight the way to the top of Dueling Peaks, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, that's a beautiful sunset, and just chill back for a minute and take that in. It's just
it's at the endless amount of mechanics in the battle system too. It's I've seen videos on this. That's just it kind of mind-boggling how much you can actually do. Like the developer, like nothing ever breaks the game. Like it's just like you can it's like only limited by your imagination. And the cool thing about this game is everyone's story is so different about the experiences that they've had, the order in which they've done things, like in general. Like for example, this one story I have that I tell people all the time is I remember I just recently figured out you could snowboard on your shield. Yes. And I was snowboard and at this point in time I had learned that your shield can break on like grass and stuff, but in the snow it didn't. So I remember I was up on this snowy peak and there was these wolves and they started chasing me. So I busted out the snowboard and I started playing some SSX going down this huge steep hill. And then I guess my shield was weak. I wasn't paying attention. And I hit a rock, like a surface rock area, and my shield just shattered. And I went tumbling like a rag doll. And I remember like I was tumbling. And I got to the very edge of this cliff and I was coming to a slow crawl and I was like, and then I just went over the cliff and lost like 90% of my hearts. And then at the bottom of the hill were more wolves and then they came and picked apart my body and I died. And it was like the funniest thing. And it's those little moments, like the thing that's cool about that game, and I'll stop talking after this because I could really talk about this game forever. But the thing that's cool about
Please do.
Yeah. The thing that's cool about it is that like it gives you this sort of like real world sense and excitement of exploration, right? Like there's so many times where I would climb this huge hill or like hillside or whatever it was. And I would spend 20 minutes because I wanted to get to the top of this mountain or whatever it was, only to look down and realize that there's absolutely nothing there, which if you're not thinking much about it, you might think, well, that's stupid. But to me, I was just like, it's sort of like almost mimicked this sensation you have in real life as a child, like when you're exploring and you climb things and you know, like you're out there hiking and you get to the top of the mountain. It's like you get a beautiful view, but there's really nothing there. But it's more about the journey than it is the destination. And I absolutely like this game captured that perfectly. I mean, there's definitely some little things here and there, and I can't wait for 2. But in any case, I think this should be high on the list. I think if it wasn't for the review bombs, it would be. Anyway, I'm done. Good night, everybody. So we'll move on. Ooh, all right. Now we're moving on to Red Dead Redemption 2. I hate this game. So let me clarify myself here. This game is visually spectacular, and there's a lot of elements that are well done in this game, but gameplay sucks my dick, and that is why I do not like this game. And this is the type of game that makes me so irritated with the gaming community of today. It's the epitome of people being blinded by, you know, like a lore or a story and graphics and building the game up bigger than it is. Controlling fucking the character in this game sucked at. Riding a horse was fucking You know what? Just running or riding a horse sucked in this game. The fast travel was very bizarre and not convenient. The loading times took longer than it would to just fucking ride there. The fucking shooting mechanics, half the time you would get stuck on shit. Forget battles from an actual horseback. That was, you know what? Do not like this game. I'm just gonna stop before I say something really mean.
For the sake of time, I agree. The mechanics of it, I just feel like they, I don't know, tried too much to keep it like the original game mechanically. And I understand like the effort to kind of like keep it in line with the original, but they could have refined it, you know. And that's where I think the biggest problem was, like storyline wise. Story is great, but the mechanics just bog this thing down. A lot of other decisions, like you said, with the horse and stuff. But yeah, I don't think it's a 97.
Jimmy, I know that you haven't played this game, and I know actually you're probably like laughing because you were talking to me about this game on the phone like last week, and I was just shitting all over it.
It really discouraged me after your glowing review of this, because we have very similar tastes in games. I mean, going up together, that's just happens that way.
Well, I do think that I still recommend that you try it, because I'm very cynical and I'm very, very particular about how games play and control. So,
which I think is more the most important part of a game.
Yeah, it's in the name.
Yeah.
But that being said, I would be very interested. It's I guess it was just announced to be coming out on Game Pass for consoles, or Xbox. But that usually means that the PC version is soon to follow. So when that comes out on Game Pass, since it'll be free for you at that point, try it out, and I'd be interested to hear how you feel about it at that point. But because I also do not like The Witcher for the same exact reasons, and I know a lot of people love it, and that's fine. But I'll die on that hill too. Yeah. All right, last thing on the 97s: Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. So I'm a huge Nintendo person, and I love Mario games. I have not played these. That is my like secret, as a Nintendo fan. I hear nothing but praise for these games, and I actually really want to play these games. I've that rumor that's going around where they're going to remaster all these 3D Mario games for the Switch here this year. If the rumors are true and they come out with at least one, if not both of these games, I will be on it day one. But that's all.
Yeah, I don't know. Never played these games. I've seen a few bits of playthrough. Look great. But other than that, that's all I have.
Jim, did you play these? These were Wii games.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, that was my sister's, and I felt weird about buying games on a console that was not owned by me.
It's funny. I don't think I ever knew that was your sister's. I remember I would come over to your house, we'd play the Wii, and then we'd go downstairs and I'd play guitar and you play drums. All right, but yeah, that's one that I don't have much to say about it, and I wish I did, but it probably deserves it. I don't know. And that's it. That caps off 97. Sorry, that was a weak ending into 97, but now we move into 98. So this list is very, very small. There's only 3 games on this list. We've got Soul Calibur, which kind of blows my mind that a fighting game is up here this high. Like I played I think I played Soul Calibur 2. Whatever one I played, it was the one where Link had a cameo as a fighter. And they were fun fighting games. But again, they're fighting games. And for me, it's like too niche. I never got super into them.
I think this game's presence on this list is more just a testament to how popular fighting games are. Mm-hmm. I've never been into them, but obviously there are tons and tons and tons of people that are. And this is obviously the first of the series. Looks good. I heard the fighting is fantastic in it. They always have cameo characters in it that are cool, but I don't know. I think it's more just that kind of shows how popular these style of games are.
Hey, wasn't Spawn in a Soul Calibur game?
I think so. No, Mortal Kombat. He's coming to Mortal Kombat.
Well, no, he's in Mortal Kombat, but I want to say he was in a Soul Calibur game too.
Well, they need to make a Spawn game.
Like fucking Spawn in the Demon's Hand on Dreamcast.
Yes.
Why is that not 100%? Jim, did you ever play any Soul Calibur games?
No, I didn't play any of the Soul Caliburs. Dreamcast was too short-lived.
Yeah.
I mean, that entire system, I think, was better than the PS2 that came out at the time, but that's just because I got my parents to buy me one of these instead of a PS2.
Remember the memory cards that had like little games on them?
Yeah. playing Chow Adventure.
Yeah.
You know,
Dreamcast was
game.
ahead of its time. It's a shame.
Yeah, I'm really upset about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Grand Theft Auto 4, another Grand Theft Auto. This is actually probably my personal least favorite Grand Theft Auto game. So I'm kind of annoyed that it's in this high, but whatever. Don't have much to say about it.
Yeah, whatever.
It's a Grand Theft Auto game. I don't know. Grand Theft Auto 4. I don't know why people love this game. I don't think it's that great.
It's point I've seen too many of them on this list for me to give a shit about. I'm just being honest. I've seen Grand Theft Auto too many times.
I liked 5, not enough to be in greatest games of all time, but I like 5 more than 4. Fuck 4. Anyway, now we have a game which this is probably one of my all-time favorite games. We've already briefly talked about it, but Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
Yes, 2 was where it's at.
I don't know what it is about this game, but when it came out, I just couldn't get enough of it. There's a rumor that they're working on a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 right now.
But I'm wondering if they go back, because I heard the game really transitioned mechanically
once it got
to
to 4,
towards the realistic as opposed to the old kind of fun version.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in 3 and 4, they introduced the thing where you could get off your skateboard and like walk around.
Yeah, but I thought 3 was still very arcadey and fun, but 4, really started to lose itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the thing about 2 is they first introduced the manual, which which really is what I think sets apart from 1. Because on 1, it was impossible to get a high score playing as a street skater. You know, someone who specialized in grinding and little tricks like that.
Yeah,
because you did not have the manual. Anytime you played as a trying to get the high score in a level, you have to like go as a vert skater, find a half pipe somewhere, and totally
do some crazy tricks
on a half pipe to get the high score.
Yeah.
Street skaters, I mean, couldn't do anything in 1, but then they put that manual mechanic in on number 2, and that's what brought everybody on at the same level. I think
the only reason I'd want to get off my skateboard in a Tony Hawk game is to beat somebody else with it. I know you could run into the other players. I think if you clip them at the right angle in 2, you could knock them off their board. Like when we were playing graffiti, if you remember, we'd trip each other up because you would try to slow the other player down. Yeah, that was always a fun kind of dastardly thing to do.
Little backhand.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about Pro Skater 2? I feel like we didn't spend a lot of time on it to emphasize how great of a game it is, but it's so good.
I think the game speaks for itself. It's one of those games where no amount of time us dissecting the game, we really, point to how amazing of a game it was, especially in relevance to our childhood.
Yeah.
It's just leaking out nostalgia, just even looking at the cover of it. It was an amazing game. And I think there's nothing we could say to really point to how great this game is.
Cool.
Another, maybe minor point, but this game did have a great soundtrack for skating too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I hate to admit it, but this is what turned me on to Bad Religion, actually.
That's funny.
One of the greatest punk bands in American history, but that's another story.
He outed himself. There it is. Get him.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of aged punk rockers hanging outside your house.
All right, gentlemen, we have come to the final game on the list, and it's the only one that is in 99, and there's no game above this. I think I should introduce
this one. It's Final Fantasy VII, the original game I love so much.
No, dude, it's Knack 2. We already talked about it. So there is no 100. This is 99. It's the only game in its class, the only game that's ever hit this rank. And it is Parappa the Rapper. No, okay, it is Zelda Ocarina of Time. And this is my personal favorite game of all time. There's not much to really say about it that hasn't already been said by probably every other person in the world that talks about it. But this was just one of those games that was like just pure utopia for me when I was a child. It was just, I think this game has absolutely perfect pacing in a video game. The gameplay and story, like the balance of everything is just absolutely sublime. And even today, especially if you play the 3DS version of it, holds up tremendously well. And I really can't say enough about this game. I think it absolutely deserves to be definitely in the best games of all time. I think, the greatest game is definitely a subjective thing. For me, it is, but like for other people, it might not be. So I think Breath of the Wild deserves to be sort of handshaking with this one. But anyway, not much else I can say about it. I do believe that this is one of the greatest games ever created, and I know that Corey loves it more than life itself. So
I'm sure this will be probably on the list of all the Zelda games that I'll be subjected to playing.
Oh yeah,
and I can't say I'm not interested. Am I expecting my life to be changed?
Yes.
No, I'll be passive in my opinion until then.
I will quit this podcast.
I hope when you guys have me play the list, I pick like the worst one and go, this one's pretty good. It's my favorite. And you're all just like puke.
Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. That's Corey's favorite.
Yeah,
game.
exactly. But no, I'm interested in the list and playing through it. But I see the game for its merits. I've heard tremendous things about it. I played a little bit of it. Mechanics were fun. I believe there's a grappling hook in this one of some sort.
Yes.
Hook shot.
Yeah, I remember tinkering with that a little bit. I don't have much to say other than I'll be cautiously optimistic about my experiences with the games.
All right. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, this is the only reason I still own a 64.
This is the reason I live.
I come back and play this one about every 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, just every once in a while, I'm like, you know what? I haven't played in a long time. Ocarina of Time.
Yep.
And I break up my 64, hook this up, and just go at it for.
I still have the original gold cartridge. Every time I hook up my 64, I have to play, even though I actually have the 3DS version of it. And so since then, I actually have Ocarina and Majora both framed in a glass in my house. That's how much of a nerd I am. And it's sort of hard to talk about one without the other. That's why I know Majora used to be at 98, and it got knocked down, but it's like, Majora was a direct sequel using the same assets, came out, 2 years later or whatever. It was built in a year though. Back when games used to actually, when developers severely cared about games and that era, and this includes PS1 era games and stuff too. And that's why I love Nintendo to today. I think that they're the only company that still sort of holds that value. They will literally scrap a game and start from scratch if it doesn't meet their standard of quality. And that's pretty fucking crazy. That's the list. The greatest games of all time, according to Metacritic and other people, some of which some I agree with, some I disagree with. So that being said, let's just talk about what our thoughts are on the overall list. And we'll kind of start with you, Corey, then we'll go to Jim, and then I'll wrap it up. But just your overall thoughts on what we heard through that list now.
I think it's kind of just reestablished my opinion on, I kind of question how did some of these games get on here as the best games of all time, and why is it so many of certain genres? Like, why is there like all of the Grand Theft Autos made it into the 97s and up? It baffles me. I get it. They're like popular games, but for all of them to be there, I don't know. A lot of the games I do see they earned their right to be there. Halo, Tony Hawk 2, even like one or two of the Grand Theft Autos, I see it. So yeah, I take a lot of, I think there's a list with a grain of salt, because I feel like some of the games, either there's just a rampant fan base or I don't know, but and some of these I just don't see their presence here, as being like the best of all time. Like Batman, great game. 96, I don't know. BioShock 96, again, great game, not 96. But games like Baldur, awesome. Little Big Planet, 95. Again, you can go through this list, you can rifle through this list and go, how in the hell did this thing make it up here when it didn't revolutionize things? It doesn't have nostalgia. Why is it doing here? Great game, but is it really best game of all time quality?
But is it better than Final Fantasy
feeling I have
7?
over it. Yeah. The fact that Final Fantasy 7 didn't make it anywhere on this list.
So I will say, like, having looked at the entire list, 90s and up, Final Fantasy 7 is in the 90s, but it's actually tied with 10 and 12 and 6. And I can get being tied with 6, but fucking 10 and 12. I mean, I love 10. I hate 12, but I love 10. But 10 is not as good as 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, begs the question what the what is Metacritic's even reputation anymore? Like,
what the hell is the criteria for all this?
right? Like, I think that Metacritic, like, it's sort of the staple, right? Like, a lot of people refer to it, right? But like, it doesn't hold the same amount of water today as maybe it did when it originated. But it's sort of like it's almost a joke anymore. It's almost a meme, and I think a lot of that comes down to the review bombs and everything. But yeah, no, I get it. Jim, how do you feel about this list?
Yeah, there's a lot of repetition on this, which if these are just rated by how great the game is, it makes sense. If you were to rate the top 10 games of all time or whatever, yeah, Core's right. You would trim 9 of the 10 Grand Theft Auto games off this list. I think it's just how they went about making it, Yeah, it's just not a good way to. This isn't the best way to make a list, I guess, is how they did it. Like, for example, Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 being right beside each other. I mean, yeah, sure, they were both great, but if you're making a list of all-time games, choose one.
Yeah,
they can restrict it.
Well, I think
a good point.
It's a bit hard though, right? Because like if let's say Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, for example, like a lot of people think 2 is actually better than 1, but a lot of people think 1's the best. So like if a game is like of equal caliber, how do you rank it? Like it's sort of like you don't want to do one injustice over the other one. So
I wish there was a way of like splitting it or asking the fan base, you have to pick one or the other and just leave it to a vote. But to see so many Grand Theft Autos, I feel like one game per series, maybe 2 games per series.
See, I'm actually like less surprised by the repetition, more surprised by some of the titles themselves. Like when we were looking at that list, like you said, like putting games like Little Big Planet and stuff. Like, although yeah, sure, it's a great game, but would I put it up there in the ranks of other games? And that's sort of like if you're making a list of like the greatest games, like weaning off the ones that are like, yeah, they're great, but are they that great?
Yeah, like as I said before, NFL 2K1, I guess it's a great football game, but nobody in whatever company like invented football. They just put graphics and updated people's names and stats. I mean, that doesn't make a great game. Yeah. So I think a lot of this is polluted by the fan base or something.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And as far as we talked about like trimming down the list, I think that's the burden of like the list creator to cut down Grand Theft Auto 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and choose the best one when making a list, or 2, whatever. But
so are there any games that you guys think should have been on this list that weren't? And we'll do it again. We'll start with Corey, and we'll go to you, Jim, and then come back to me.
Yeah, I think I already brought one of them up, which is Final Fantasy 7. We already kind of vocalized where it is on this list. It's lower. The impact it had on narrative storytelling, the things it introduced into the game as an RPG system, it really brought turn-based RPGs really into the forefront. For it not to be up higher on this list baffles me to no end. I don't understand it. I think there's a couple other games I played. The only one I think I really want to push for is maybe I was mulling over it, but the original Mass Effect for it to be up here. Mm-hmm. The second one, great, but there's something about being the first to bring about a piece of storyline. Mass Effect, the original, I think really brought this whole, expansive universe and lore and things into it. Great game. Now, the second one was really, it really refined it, which brings into the question, which is better, a game that brought all this stuff forward initially, or the game that kind of made it slightly better? And I think it's a whole conversation we could have separately. But I thought the original Mass Effect should have been up here more on this list. Those are kind of the two that really kind of surprised me that they didn't exist here within this kind of list.
Okay. Jim?
Yeah, just to go off what Corey just said, I mean, I know you guys are really big on the Final Fantasy VII, but, there were, 6 Final Fantasy games that came before that? Not to mention, I think Chrono Trigger was the one that really booted this off. And that was a great game, I thought, when I went back and replayed it. Yeah, I think that should be on here.
So I will say that Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy XII, those types of games, they actually are they are in the 90s. They are in the must play list, but they're not. And like not. And that's the part that I agree with and disagree is with this is some of those titles should be higher. Because I look at a game like Final Fantasy VII, and I think, and then I look at some games that are in the, like in the in those high 90s, such as like, Grand Theft Auto 3. Or, like even Perfect Dark and shit like that, or hell, even like BioShock, Uncharted 4. Like, come on. There's definitely like I would say that Final Fantasy VII has definitely fuck, that game has literally brought JRPGs to the West. They have created it as a staple. And it has revolutionized what a lot of RPGs have, it's sort of made us rethink what storytelling and JRPGs can even be. So it's sort of like that compared to like a lot of these other sort of cookie cutter modern day things. It's just like, eh. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Jim. Is there anything else?
Oh, no, that was my main one, actually, right there.
What, Chrono Trigger?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it at like a, can't remember what that was at the list, but I think that was like a 92 or something. What was weird is Chrono Trigger was higher rated than Chrono Cross was actually up on the list higher than that was,
and it just raises a question, I think, where people in this game
I did not
look towards the new.
I really loved that one, but as far as being groundbreaking, I guess not so much. But I mean, the nostalgia is really blinding us here, and that's why I'm not mentioning Chrono Cross.
Yes,
I fucking love that game.
I absolutely love Chrono Cross, but I don't think it deserves to be higher than Chrono Trigger. Not at all. So I have my list may be a little bit weird. Obviously Turok Rage Wars is got no, but okay. So one game that I would love to see, I feel truly believes to be in the list of the greats, is Cuphead. I think that game deserves to be on a fucking mantle. I'm not even usually like just a boss rush, just like platformers. I love platformers, but like they're not like the thing I always spring for directly. And Cuphead is just it's a beautiful game. It's a wonderful game. It's challenging, like old school challenging. It's it gives you all the replayability factors because it makes you want to go back and try to beat the bosses on a different difficulty level or try to get the S ranks and stuff like that. It's just an absolute joy of a game. I think it's sort of like a perfect length. I have some critiques that I think it could be a little bit there could be more, a little bit more of a balance between standard levels and bosses and stuff. I cannot wait for the DLC to come on that. When that DLC comes and they said that they're going to make it a physical release, I will double dip. I will buy it and I will put it on a fucking mantle because that game, I think is the only game I can think of that's like technically perfect. Like the art style, like the performance, everything there, the way it responds to the controls, it's all perfect. Even the fucking Switch port is a 1-to-1 like perfect match. Besides max resolution, which is only withheld by console standards from Switch to Xbox One. It is a marvel of a game. I think that game is one of the greatest games of this generation. A game that probably wouldn't surprise you two on my list, Rocket League. It's and again, like it's not like any game, just like any game, it's not going to be for everyone. But it takes two genres that I don't give a shit about, soccer and racing, and it merges them into this like it's like a fucking carrot cake, right? Like it's like the end product is delicious, but like the other two things are like, ugh. It is as far as it controls, it's that old arcadey style of control. Everything is your fault. It's just it's so mechanically polished, and it just feel that and Cuphead, they feel like Nintendo created games where like gameplay comes first. It's just an absolute joy. Rocket League has some of the best music, like just interesting pop music. I'm not even a pop music fan, but the music just gets me all hyped up. And it's constantly updated. It's new free modes as well as then they have like DLC cars and stuff. It's all about customization. No DLC affects the game. It's a wonderful game. I think it deserves way more credit than it gets, and it already gets a lot of credit. So Rocket League. I agree with you, Corey. Final Fantasy VII. I mean, I already kind of touched on it, but basically, it was groundbreaking. It set the bar for JRPGs kind of going forward. So like to not have it's sort of like compare that to some other games on the list. It's like no, this one broke fucking ground, and it it revolutionized gaming, and you're going to tell me that it doesn't deserve, that's based solely on the idea of like modern expectations on older games, which is bullshit. And then this one, Jimmy, you kind of stole the thunder earlier, but I said I wish you hadn't mentioned the game, but Jet Force Gemini. Not enough people talk about this game these days. And I know like control wise and everything like it. No, it doesn't hold up to today. But like back then, this was one of those gems. Jimmy actually introduced me to this game, and I could not believe what I was playing. And it was just such a unique, fun little experience. And then when you unlocked, like paintball mode and that one, Rainbow Blood.
Rainbow Blood, yeah.
Yeah, loved it. Man, like this game was so cool. The only downside was like the 2-player interactivity was limited to the little helicopter guy.
Yeah.
Well, that was co-op mode. Yeah.
I wish that they would have had a more co-op mode. But even like the battle, like this is another game. Whenever Jimmy comes home and visits, we hook up the N64, we play Jet Force Gemini, and we do deathmatch.
Yes,
it's such a great game, and
it's so much better because I could tie with you instead of when we play Gold.
Oh yeah, and then if we play Pod Racers, you'll just demolish me. It's just, and I know that this one's kind of niche, but like I just feel like this game doesn't get enough love, and it's such a hidden gem. Mario 64, what the fuck? Why is that not in this list? It is in the 90s, but why is it not 95 and better? This literally revolutionized gaming. This and Ocarina of Time, games today are mimicking what these games did.
I mean, it's Nintendo's launch child of the 64. It's the one that all of us opened on Christmas. I'm like, oh shit, a 64 in Mario. I mean,
yeah. It's just one of it. I'm just sorry. It's just objectively speaking, it's one of the greatest games ever made. I know.
I think the pattern I've noticed after examining this list a little bit after while you guys are talking is the game definitely caters towards the sequel as opposed to the original. I've noticed it in a lot of these series, and I don't know if it's because it's newer or it took something and made it even greater. Maybe their idea was, yeah, that was great, but this is greater. But I've noticed that pattern.
But even like if you look at a game like what revolutionized gaming, like I still say Mario. I love Odyssey. I actually think Odyssey deserves to be on this list. That's how groundbreaking that is by modern standards. But Mario 64 was still more groundbreaking.
Well, I agree. Odyssey was probably an amazing game, but look at that. They put Odyssey on this list, but they didn't put Mario 64. They didn't give a tip of the hat to the originator. They went for the hyper popular one that came down the road. And I think it's kind of the pattern I've noticed about this list.
That younger girl with the ass.
There is nothing before N64 on this list. And if we're going with groundbreaking, Super Mario Brothers on SNES, whenever that first came out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, dude, that and Sonic 2 were my jam back in the day.
And then Super Mario World was like sort of the perfect amalgamation. Fuck. I should stop trying to use big words when I'm drinking. It was sort of the perfect evolution of Mario games too. And that's hailed as one of the greatest games. And it's just, again, it sort of like goes into the Metacritic reputation and even the legitimacy of like looking at reviews and stuff. But like even the original Smash Brothers, right? But anyway, just stuff like that.
That has like the biggest cult following.
Yeah. Well, the Smash Brothers games are riddled through the 90s, but the original's not, which blows me away because that's the one that just, set the gold standard that revolutionized things. Again, it's just reputation, legitimacy. And then the other problem is, not just review bombs, but modern day reviews and criticisms of older games nonsense. Are there any games in this list that you haven't played that you want to play, or any games that you'd like to revisit?
Well, I was you Jim, you sound like you wanted to say something.
Yeah. Yeah, I got one. When I was reviewing this, I definitely want to go back and play Persona 5.
Cool.
Because this is one I think it was more popular in Japan. I mean, I first heard about it whenever Persona 4 came out. But 5, I was watching the trailer for that. And that's all in the anime genre of everything that's going on there, which I love as an anime fan. I picked up on that watching animes, my friends in college, like 5 years ago or something like that. And I just really love that art style. And just watching the trailer for it reminds me of the opening scenes to Do Ra Ra Ra. I know you guys have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Maybe
Someone out there is probably like,
it's not like a drunk slur.
I just got one fan for right there, I'm sure.
This is one fan that leaves a comment. Oh my God, you need to have this guy back every week.
You mentioned DR3, my God. Yeah.
I have to say, looking through the list, the ones I kind of want to go back and play Resident Evil 4, of course. Just thinking about that game it was a great game. And I was also looking at Metal Gear Solid 2. Two games that as soon as I saw them, I was like, oh, that'd be fun to play that one and pick that one back up again off the list. Like, those are the ones that kind of, Tony Hawk 2, like, if it ever came a chance of being offered to play again or throw it back in the system, one of the systems, I think that'd be a great experience.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with. Well, I agree with Jimmy. I've been wanting to play Persona 5. I'm not as much of a anime fan as he is, but it is something that I've wanted to play. I would kind of like to go back and maybe try Half-Life games again, just to see if my perception has changed. And if I could, I would also try to revisit Mass Effect 2, just to see how big and of scale as it is by today's standards. And I absolutely want a chance to play the Metroid Prime games. And I'd love to try the Mario Galaxy games. If they do end up making remasters, I will definitely give those a go. And then
as far as the racing games go, I'm excited for Pod Racers again.
Oh yeah, that's getting re-released. Yeah.
Yes, that'll be fun. I want to beat your ass from 300 miles away.
Oh, you will definitely destroy me at that game. That game was so hard to like see what was happening, especially on the old school N64. And I was like, how, Jim, is your eyesight this good?
Memorized all of the maps.
Yeah.
Muscle memory alone is what beat you.
I thought I had another one, but maybe I didn't. I like every time I hear Metal Gear Solid 2, like, yeah, I kind of have an urge to go back and play it. I don't know if I ever would, but yeah, I don't know. I guess that's my list. How about if, like, you know, because we talk about like what's going on with Metacritic and everything. So like how, like, because it's so hard to take any of this seriously because half the shit I'm just like, no. So how do you guys today, like if you're interested in a game, what kind of reviews or, you know, media do you sort of refer to when you're looking for reviews?
I definitely go towards more like YouTube. I try to find people that I think are honest. Are there any channels that like you can think of that you would give props to? Before You Buy, I think is one.
Is that Game Ranks?
It might be Gamer Ranks. Yeah, he gives games a fair shake. I used to do Angry Joe, but I feel like he's kind of chilled out.
I fucking hate Angry Joe. I'm just gonna say that.
I used to keyword used to like him, but I feel like he's kind of sold out a little bit more recently. But yeah, Gamer Ranks is really good work. I think with I think they're Before You Buy. I think they give a very unbiased perception of the game. They give pros, they give cons. I think it's a good example of a good review before like suggestion of buying a game.
How about you, Jim?
Well, I do subscribe to the Couch Play Cousins and get a lot of info.
Yes,
we made it. Bonus points for Jim.
Found our intro.
Nice.
But aside from the plug, I mean, getting gaming advice from somebody for 25 years or so, you really get an understanding from your best friends on like, you know, what they're looking for. And if they say something's wrong, then, you know, like, well, I don't like this, or like, that's the one thing I like, so I'm going to play that even though you get a negative review, if you listen to the same reviewer, you could understand if like, this is something that, oh, I'm going to like, or no, I agree with him, I'm not going to like this. Something to that effect, you know?
Yeah. I think Jimmy made a good point too, though. Like if I have a friend that you know I've been playing games with for a long time, recommend a game for me, I'm more likely going to kind of like look into that first. Good point. And big ups to you.
One more thing on that. I don't like watching reviews in general because, you know, we grew up playing games right before the internet became a thing, right?
Yeah.
And all you could do is play a game and figure out if you liked it or not. And the one thing about watching reviews is there's a bunch of spoilers and you find out someone who plays it better than you do. And I think watching too many reviews kind of ruins the experience. And that's why I like Breath of the Wild so much.
Mhm.
I didn't watch anybody play it. I barely even talked to you when I was playing it until I beat the game. Just so I could go in blind and figure it all out for myself. And that's really the most rewarding part of the game, is doing it all by yourself. Trying to do creation, but if I miss something, I mean that's what a game is. You don't get everything on the first time through, and you can go back and I'll look at the game guide after I beat it and try to get everything on the second time through if I really like it or something like that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's far too often do I feel like a lot of modern day YouTubers, which is a lot, let's be honest, like most of the time if you're watching a YouTuber, chances are they're more of a millennial. And they just praise a lot of the shit that I don't like anyway. So yeah, it is one of those, like, I kind of look at trailers and gameplay. A lot of times I'll just open up an eShop or Steam, like games, and I'll just look through and watch the trailers and screenshots and just see if it's something I'm interested in. If it's a demo, I'll try to download it because, yeah, I mean, look at this list and look at everything else. Like, you really can't take people's words anymore. And like you said, spoilers are such a big thing. And absolutely, Breath of the Wild, I used to tell people all the time when one of my buddies was about to play it, like maybe a year after it came out, I said, do yourself a favor. Don't watch a single thing on YouTube about this if you haven't already, because the thing about that game is it was so amazing because I didn't know anything. And I discovered different types of mechanics. It was like, oh my gosh. And of course, that magic's going to be lost if you know about it.
Yeah. I remember watching something on Breath of the Wild a year ago on YouTube, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know you could do that. And it was watching too much YouTube, I think, spoils the game, honestly.
If you guys could pick a game on this, it doesn't even have to be on this list, but if you have one on this list, that's fine. If you could review bomb one of these games, what would it be?
I'd have to probably say Ocarina of Time. No, I'm just never played it, but fuck that game. I honestly, like, I don't see the reasoning behind NFL 2K1's existence on this list. And I was going to piss people off, but it's just a sports game in the end. Like, how many times can you reinvent the wheel? I don't understand its existence on best games of all time. Like, how many times can you fix throwing a football to a person? It's just, and I get it's gonna piss a lot of people off, and I get I'm not a sports person, but I don't know. That's the best I can put it. It's like, what the hell is it doing on like the best games of all time? Yep. Like, I don't know.
Jim, you got any hate?
Not on this list. I'm there's some on here I haven't played before, but I can't, review bomb those. I can't mention anything bad about them. I have a lot of pent up anger against the Starlink game that came out. I'm really upset about that.
That's the toy you could build and put in the game, right?
Yeah. So I remember when 64 came out, and we'd go to like EB Games with our moms or something and play in 64 on the.
I used to go to EB Games with your mom, actually.
Yeah. No, Star Fox 64 was the one that came out that really made me want to get an N64.
Yeah.
And they haven't made that yet. That's one thing I'm upset about. They haven't made a Star Fox game yet. And then Starting came out, and I'm like, oh, this is like a Star Fox RPG. It's going to be awesome. Nope. And, you go to the first world, and then, like, oh, you beat the boss. Now you get to fly up out of the atmosphere into the asteroid belt. Oh, fight enemies on the way to the next planet. That's awesome. And then hit planet number 2, and then it just fucking recycled its content for 7 more planets. And I played it because for so long, actually only 20 hours. It was a really short game, waiting for something awesome to happen, but it never did. And so I'm still very angry about that.
Nice. Blow that steam.
Yeah, I need to get it off me again.
If I could, I would review bomb. Well, I guess I could, but I'd like to review bomb Metal Gear Solid 5. I don't think it deserves to be in this list. I think it's fine. That's why I won't, but it doesn't deserve to be on this list. Same with Grand Theft Auto 4. I did not like that game. And then I already kind of raged about this one, but fucking Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'll throw Witcher 3 in that list too. I just far too many people are confusing elements of that don't make good games into why those games are so great, and it just bugs me. But anyway, I'm not gonna do it because I'm better than that.
Here's something worth mentioning. Super Mario 64 got a 94. So
Yeah.
it's not entirely removed.
That's still too low. Still too low. Again, I'm also comparing it to a lot of like the games on these lists. Like Super Mario 64, worse than Arkham City, worse than Tekken 3, worse than Gran Turismo. You know, like come on.
No.
Anyway, what about what's everybody's personal favorite game of all time? Just one favorite game of all time. Period.
I'll probably put up. You probably know it. Final Fantasy VII. It's been exclaimed probably through several other podcasts. But I think just what it did for the industry. I think story, what it brought to the table, kind of like with technological wise. I think just that's kind of my all-time favorite game, and it's probably why I have such strong opinions about the remake.
Yeah.
But that definitely the one I'd probably throw up right there.
Okay. Jimbo.
I really need to cop out on this, but I mean, greatest game of all time, the one that I find myself playing again 20 years after it came out, Ocarina of Time. Yeah, I mentioned this before already, but every couple years I blow the dust off my 64 and come back and play that one. That's the only game on here, only game that I know of that I'll go back and play again. Just like, haven't played this in a while. I need to do that.
Yeah. I'll piggyback off that, and I've already said it already when we talked about the list, and it's on our website, on my bio and everything. That Ocarina of Time is my favorite game of all time. I sometimes I wonder if Breath of the Wild surpasses it, and I'm just not letting it because of my because I'm closing it off in my heart because of my nostalgia. That's how much I love Breath of the Wild. Like it's like it probably is the greatest game of all time to me, but I still got to give it to Ocarina. And it's the first game I remember that as a child, when I played it, I truly wanted to live in that world. And that's why I also love Breath of the Wild so much, because it's the first time I felt like that since that game. But then I also, so I am going to say Ocarina of Time, but big props to Breath of the Wild, and also big props to Final Fantasy VII, because that was the other game of that generation that I just absolutely loved.
One thing I'm looking forward to with Breath of the Wild, though, is I got one of my friends to just start playing it.
Nice.
And so in terms of replayability, I think it'll be a lot better to replay that game if you have somebody else guiding you. I've tried to replay it once or twice, and I just go down the same path that I did. You have an open world in 360 degrees to go in, but I go down that same path every time I replay it, But if you have someone else guiding you, no, go up there. Whatever.
Well,
Don't get the message.
It's a bit. It's almost like a little bit of a disservice, though, at the same time, right? Because they can't sort of completely be. But at the same time, I get it. I won't talk too much. But we'll get Corey. We'll get him.
Yeah.
He can't hide forever. Alrighty. So that being said, Jim, thanks for joining us. We love you, and we loved having you on. We hope to do it again sometime soon.
Oh yeah.
And if you want to learn more about us, you can visit our website at couchplaycousins.com. We have links there for our YouTube, our Twitch, as well as our social media, which is Twitter at couch_cousins and Facebook at couchplaycousins. And if you go on our Twitter, check us out, but then also check out some of the other small streamers that have been supporting us. So give them some love, such as Wazda and Beyond, What the Famicom, and various others, Super Smash Dads, to name a few. But just check them all out. Anyway, that's all we have. So until the next time, cheers.
Later, guys.
Nice see ya.
Nice see ya.
I didn't have anything. I don't know what to say.
Nope. That's it.
Nope.
That's it. And end.